Hey guys, welcome back to another Twisted Tale review, or welcome if you're new. As you can see, I have all of the Twisted Tales so far, and the most recent one that came out aside from the anthology was When You Wish Upon a Star by Elizabeth Lim. Pinocchio, not my first pick when it comes to Disney movies or stories. Didn't really care for it much growing up. It doesn't make top 10. It doesn't make top 10. However, this Twisted Tale, which follows the blue fairy from Pinocchio rather than like Pinocchio himself, could very well possibly be top 3, if not top 5, of all of the Twisted Tale releases. So yes, I enjoyed it. I've just come to accept that either the lighting or my hair is not going to look good in whatever situation, so we're just gonna go with it. Because you guys are here for the book, not for me. I really don't matter, but this book definitely is worth reading, especially if you've read any of the Twisted Tales or have interest in it. So I'm gonna do a quick little walkthrough from what I remember. It's been a few months since I've read it, but a lot of the key parts that I really enjoyed are sticking with me. So let me read you the synopsis real quick. It's a very long synopsis. You can check Wikipedia for it. Oh, I'll just read it. Gosh darn it. It is the whole thing. It is quite a long synopsis, but let us read it again together. What if the blue fairy wasn't supposed to help Pinocchio? Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. So begins the wish that changes everything. For Geppetto, the blue fairy, and a little puppet named Pinocchio. The blue fairy isn't supposed to grant wishes in the village of Pariva, but something about this one awakens some long-buried flicker within. Perhaps it's the hope she senses beneath the old man's loneliness. Or maybe it's the fact that long ago, before she was the blue fairy, she was a young woman named Chiara with a simple wish, to help others find happiness. Her sister Ilaria always teased her for this, for Ilaria had big dreams to leave their sleepy village and become a world-renowned opera singer. While Ilaria would have given anything to have a fairy grant her wish, Chiara didn't believe in the lore for which their village was famous. 40 years later, Chiara, now the blue fairy, defies the rules of magic to help an old friend. But she's discovered by the Scarlet Fairy, formerly Ilaria, who, amid the decades-long grudge, holds the transgression against her sister. They decide to settle things through a good old-fashioned bet, with Pinocchio and Geppetto's fate hanging in the balance. Will the sisters find a way back to one another? Or is this, like many matters of the heart, a gamble that comes with strings? To be quite honest, that might be the first time I've read the cover blurb, or I guess the inside cover blurb, however you want to call it, because typically I don't read blurbs before I read a book. It's because it's either recommended to me or, like the other Twisted Tales, I'm gonna read them, so it doesn't matter what they try to tell me. I'd say that was a very, very in-depth blurb. There are a couple of things that it didn't touch on, which I think are really nice elements of the story. But it kind of gives away the whole fact that her sister also becomes a fairy, and we'll get into that. I think they could have maybe kept that a little more mysterious, but I digress. So the story starts out with a little prologue in which the blue fairy hears Geppetto's wish, and she listens to it. She recognizes Geppetto, and she essentially grants his wish with the known terms that if you've seen Pinocchio, you know, like he's got to be brave of heart and blah 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 blah. But then she's discovered by the Scarlet Fairy. We don't know who the Scarlet Fairy is at this point, of course. Then we jump 40 years back in time, same little village, Pariva, where Chiara, who we are able to identify as the future blue fairy, yes, Chiara, Ilaria, and her brother they go out into a boat on the sea, and they actually see Geppetto while he's out on his boat getting attacked by Monstro. And as his ship boat really is capsized. Chiara swims out selflessly, saves Geppetto. That's kind of their first interaction. And I really thought that it was going to be Chiara and Geppetto as a pairing. However, very nice plot twist, I guess, or maybe, I just jumped to conclusions way too soon. Because of Chiara's selflessness and her willingness to make other people happy, she's actually invited by this whole communion of fairies to become one of them. And each of them have like their own color assignment. So like the orange fairy, the pink fairy, the turquoise fairy is conveniently blue was available when Chiara was there. So she just got to be regular old blue instead of like sapphire. I don't know what you could have done with that, but of all the elements in the book, that one I couldn't really, like, it didn't feel lazy, but it was also like, again, it was convenient that blue was available. But that passed really quickly because once you got into how the fairy system worked, where they get their magic from, who the dark villains, the dark spirit essence kind of thing is, you can ignore that they're all just colors. But Chiara isn't a fairy right away. She goes on a trial period. And during this trial period, she is away from home for, I believe, 6 months. And her sister, who she's left behind, and they all know that she's there, essentially studying to be a fairy. But her sister is holding on to the fact that after the little trial period, she's going to come back home. And Ilaria will, be able to go about living her life. She and her sister will go to the famous city, and where she will try to audition to be a diva, an opera singer. Meanwhile, in the time that she is alone, Ilaria herself is kind of realizing that her friends aren't really her friends. She kind of starts building a relationship with Geppetto very, very slowly, very just kind of building foundations, but the sparks are there and it's cute. And then her dreams are crushed because Chiara comes back to visit and says she's going to stay as a fairy. This decision really pushes Ilaria into a level of jealousy, kind of self-pity, where like everything in my life is going wrong situation. She does try to audition for the opera singer position and is, oof, poor girl. I felt for her, like the way they shut her down. Yes, I would have become a villain after that too. And because of all the negative feelings that Ilaria eventually suffers from, she's invited by the dark side to become a scarlet fairy, which is obviously not a good fairy because the dark side invited her. But she has equivalent, so it's not the same magic that the other fairies get, but she's still a fairy. In any case, now she has powers, and like her sister, she's able to affect people's happiness, but obviously in a bad way. So they kind of butt heads with each other over the course of the years. And that finally brings us back to what is basically present day, with Geppetto being an old man, very lonely old man. He had a chance. I don't want to spoil you guys, but it was cute. And who built Pinocchio? Because he didn't, get together with anybody. He never had children, yada yada. If you have seen any Pinocchio movies and seen him go through the trials of like getting sidetracked from going to school and meeting the fox, the clever fox kind of guy, Stromboli taking him in as a slave puppet, coachman and the donkeys, like all of that is there, but we get to see it behind the scenes of like how those events were triggered. And also like this wasn't just coincidentally happening for this time of Pinocchio. This has been going on, and just I thought it was very interesting to get more scope on all of those like very ludicrous events that you see in Pinocchio. I'm not gonna lie, it's like, okay, let's turn kids into donkeys all of a sudden. I thought magic was very more exclusive, but it makes more sense in this world. So our blue fairy and our scarlet fairy have conflicts throughout this whole time, but eventually things turn around. We do get a pretty happy-ish ending. At least I thought it was well resolved. The story itself was just a great ride. I read it very quickly from the get-go, which usually it does take me a few chapters at least to get into a story, but pretty much prologue, chapter 1 and 2, I was like, I will see you again tomorrow night book because I want to keep reading it. So it does have, for me, it had high readability. As far as the villain, while Ilaria does become the Scarlet Witch and act as a villain, she's not like the villain. It's kind of a bigger thing than just her. So I can't really rate it on like the villainy scale. Let me think about that. Yeah, I'm going to say it's not really while it does have good versus evil elements, it's not necessarily a hero versus villain story. I think it is very much focused around the relationships of the characters, which is something I really look forward to and enjoy in stories more so than plot. So I guess I enjoy character-driven stories. So if you enjoy character-driven stories with not only sisterly relationships, but various levels of friendship and new takes on a classic, really, and we're getting a whole different side of it, then definitely check out When You Wish Upon a Star, A Twisted Tale, and check out the other ones. There's only a couple that I did not enjoy to the fullest. I do have a few individual reviews up currently. I am slowly making my way back through rereading each book and individually reviewing them here on my YouTube channel. A couple years ago, when there was only 10 books, I reviewed and ranked them all in like a 1.5 hour, 2 hour video. So we're going to re-rank them now that there are more books out. And so I thought it would be a great idea to refresh myself on the stories and the characters and also like document it better book by book. So when I go into the ranking, I don't also have to review 15 plus more books. Okay. Like it's a lot. So keep an eye out because I will be posting those reviews a little bit more regularly. I'm hoping if I get one out a month at least, that'll help me get through the year. It could go faster, but I know I'm interspersing it with some vlogish stuff and hopefully some other video content. It's still early in the year, so things can change. But one thing is for sure, I'm going to be reviewing all of those babies again, if I haven't already. So keep an eye out. Thank you again for watching. If you've read When You Wish Upon a Star, let me know what you thought in the comments. Or if you'd like to read it, let me know what you're looking forward to. And then I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.